My friends, what is going on? Let's do a quick little market update. Before we get started, got to go through all the normal disclosures. First and foremost, you guys know the deal. Nothing I'm giving you is financial advice. Everything is for informational and educational purposes in this video. I am just giving you my most honest and best view of how I'm viewing the market currently and what I see going forward. Let me be amongst the first to wish you a very Merry Christmas coming up this week, which also means that we have a short week, very similar to Thanksgiving. So overall, I do expect a lot of kind of choppiness / float up, if you will. However, I do think that Friday put in a significant bottom in the markets. I think it's much more likely that we continue to go higher, and I'll explain why here in just a second. But it's very similar to what we saw back here at the end of the summer with the whole carry trade fiasco, Japan, all that good stuff. We saw a big gap down, followed up by a huge push up. Then it sold off towards the end of the day, but the volume was insane. We got a very similar look here on Friday. Now, to make sure we put that into context, Friday was also a quarterly OPEX, where there's always a ton of volume that comes in on those quarterly OPEX days. But this is the most volume that we saw since that low that was put in back here in August. So overall, I am anticipating a move up in the markets. Plus, if you followed me for any amount of time, which if you haven't done so already, please follow me on Twitter, Colin_Gladman. That's also where anytime I open up my private trading Discord, that's where I'm going to be posting the link. If you ever want to get all my educational videos that I do in there, plus we do weekly VCs diving into a lot more in depth in these shorter market updates that I do on here. But I posted in my Discord that the reason we got a lot of sell-off on Wednesday is because, and I also posted this on Twitter, that there was a lot of uncertainty that went out into the market on Wednesday of this week, and then more that came in on Thursday. So for the first time in about 9 months, Powell literally used the word uncertain probably 10 to 20 times in his speech, especially in the Q&A, where the crosshairs, if you will, of the Fed went away from more of the economy and it kind of went back towards inflation, which, if anything, all they've been doing is touting how well inflation is under control. And this was the first time he said, yeah, we've gotten some hot readings, the past couple of months or so. So that's why you saw the sell-off. Plus, always remember, the market is a forward-looking vehicle. They also talked about doing a lot less cuts than they originally planned in 2025. They talked about like 4 cuts in 2025. They reduced that down to potentially 2 cuts. And then what happened on Friday, let's go to Thursday. So then Thursday, what happened was the reason we gapped down so much going into Friday is because it was, hey, we thought we were going to avoid the government shutdown. That didn't happen. We don't have the votes. It turns out a lot of Republicans actually voted against Trump. And so then you saw the sell-off because now we got more uncertainty that we got a government shutdown going. And then what happened going into Friday? We get PCE data, which the Fed has said that's what they focus on the most. It came in cool. We see the gap down, but then the market's pretty much at the open, got bought up the entire day. Did see a little bit of a pullback towards the end of the day, but overall a very strong day in the markets with a whole lot of volume coming in. This is what it looked like on Thanksgiving week. So honestly, I'm expecting a very similar week. I expect overall chop, but a kind of float up, if you will, back towards 600. Now, once we get to 600, what we're going to have to watch for is, are we going to have kind of a head and shoulders form? I do expect some rejections when we get back up into that 600 level, just because it was huge support back here for, 2-3 weeks. So I don't expect us to just blast through that. It would be super bullish if we did, but I'm not necessarily expecting that. I expect everybody and their baby mama to be drawing out head and shoulders charts that are going to come back down. Now, if we come back down towards 590 and essentially just ricochet, kind of create that J-hook look, that's going to be our most bullish look if we do start to curl over. Another thing that could happen is if we actually form the head and shoulders, then we would want to see that neckline hold as support and start to curl up. If you're bearish, we start to slice through, come back up, retest. That's going to be overall a distributive look. I've kind of said that overall I thought for the most part, we're going to move higher through end of the year and into January, and then there is some potential in February to March to get some shaky moments, some wobbly moments, if you will. But the reality is we always have to have that in the market, right? We always have to have a pullback to get a further push up. Yes, we set a new low that we had before. However, this is going back to that V-shaped recovery that I talk about. So anytime you take out or sweep these previous lows, not only did we still defend this major gap up, but it wasn't like we traded around in here and it looked weak or anything like that. Like, we sliced all the way. I mean, that first few hours of market open, right? First 3 hours just straight up, and then came back and retested this level and started to get bought up into end of the day. So overall, I think this look is very strong, as my personal opinion, I've already stated. So I would expect to move up towards 598 to low 600s this upcoming week. I think kind of a slow 4 to 7 point float up is what makes the most sense. Also, too, I posted the video about this on Twitter. I said, let me tell you, once the market closes before the weekend or over the weekend, we're going to get some type of deal that, hey, the government shutdown is avoided. Yay, everybody's going to have a Merry Christmas, and it's going to push futures up. SPY was up like $1.50 after close. QQQ was up $2 after close, a little over $2. So I fully expect futures to be very green and create a gap up. The most bullish thing that we're going to get is a gap up above these previous highs over here at 595. So I want to see a gap up over 596 and overall show that as support. On QQQ, same thing. We got a nice push up and a nice flag move. Ugh, come on. Can't control the mouse here. Let me go to the 15 minute because that's where I have it drawn out. So overall, QQQ, like I said, was up a couple bucks after hours. So want to see that open. Even if we gap up here, come back, retest that breakout and start to curl, that's overall going to be a very bullish look. So if we do have a major gap up, I would expect some selling right at the beginning of the day. People take profits, anybody who swung calls over the weekend, but overall, this is very strong. And then if we look at it on a daily basis, this breakaway gap right here acted as support when we came back and found it. And then overall, like I said, we got those piercing line candles across the board on everything. IWM held the 218 support. So if you go back and watch all my old videos, I've had this line here at 218. We broke our rising support that we've had since those lows in August on IWM, came back, retested our previous resistance area, and got a nice push. So hopefully IWM is still one of the weaker ones, but hopefully we get a nice week and see not so much, because like I said, it got whacked the hardest by Powell talking about less rate cuts, things of that nature. And when you have going from a very risk-on market to a very risk-off market, things like IWM, those small mid-caps, that's always going to be what gets hit the hardest. Now on Tesla, what I'm looking for is previous all-time highs to hold. I'm going to show you two charts with Amazon and Google that I think Tesla's going to play a very similar look to. And like I said, I'll get to that in a little bit. But as of right now, from its last gap up and breakaway move, we're coming back down. So we're getting into anything below those previous all-time highs is getting into our discount zone. So could come all the way back to 396, but I really think a worst case scenario is back to about 375. But overall, as of now, I'm going to treat support as support. I'm looking for this 414 previous all-time highs to hold. And just like back here, I told my team I want to see kind of this little Morningstar look going into Monday. So I do want to see some type of gap up around 430 and then an overall push back up towards around 450. Any close, I definitely want to see a close over 440, but any close 440 plus, and I think looks good to push back up and at least retest the previous all-time highs. I think overall there is a chance Tesla can kind of consolidate, bounce around up in here. And the reality is if it builds a big old base up here, that's just creating a massive launch pad for going on into the rest of the year. So just kind of look for continued support to build out in there. I do think, because like this imbalance that was right here held that little gap up. So, I mean, you could see it come all the way back down to 400, even that 375 level. Me personally, locked in millions of dollars in gains on this move, and I bought calls when we retested back over here around 462, and I've added to those calls 2 different times back on the lows around that 420 level. So as of right now, I am red on those calls. However, all I'm doing is trading with profits. I said many times, I said this is clearly showing buyer exhaustion up here. This high volume, low spread candle was clearly showing buyer exhaustion. So to be careful and not overchase a squeeze that's happened after we had, what was this run right here? Yeah, a 45% run essentially over 2 weeks. So the fact that it's cooling off, coming back down, I said you just want to see it come down here, build a base, and then it can circle on back up. Obviously, since I'm already in calls, I would love a nice move, this week and into next week. Also remember too, Tesla has its delivery numbers on January the 2nd. So if you are holding any calls, that's pretty much like an earnings for Tesla. You'll see the stock move 5 to 10% pre-market, and that's going to be on Thursday, January 2nd. So be smart heading into that event. But overall, what I'm looking for is we need a good strong close above this 618. I think you get a daily close above 460, you're making new all-time highs and pushing into the 500s. I really do. So that would be the ultimate goal this week, is any type of, close that kind of moves us up towards not 560. That would be amazing. But any weekly close back above 460, and I think you're pushing all-time highs pretty soon after that. So we'll see how it turns out. On Sofi, going to keep this one pretty short. As long as you maintain that $13, $14 range, I think it looks good. Had its nice breakout, but like I said, once Pal came out, sliced this thing back down. But overall, a great look on Friday, holding its previous highs over here of around that $14 range. Had a piercing line look. Volume increased on Friday on Sofi, so I still like the looks of it. MicroStrategy is one that I added some shares on this week. I love the look of it. Very high volume, highest volume you've seen since beginning of December, and a very bullish candle, pretty much open and then closed at the highs, and I think was floating up in after hours another $2-3. So on Monday, you certainly want to see it get over these short-term EMAs. I think you do that. I think you're definitely pushing back up towards the mid 400s, around that 450 level. Obviously going to be very sensitive to Bitcoin, so keep an eye on that chart. AMD is one that is just, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's been frustrating. Every time it kind of looks like it's putting in a bottom, it just gets sold off. So you can clearly see here, rejected off its daily 5 SMA again. I don't like the fact that it pushed up to 122 and then got rejected, especially when Nvidia had such a nice day. But this is getting into the territory where it does need to start moving. Very similar to back over here where you broke out of the flag, you took out all the different lows that it had created, and then it had a V-shaped recovery. Now, the one thing about that is it had earnings that helped with that V-shaped recovery and pushed out here. You don't have your next earnings until February, so I'm not sure where a catalyst like this is going to come from, but it definitely needs to recover that 122. And then you just got to play it level by level. Over 122, I think you can push easily back up towards 134. You start looking good over 134, you'll challenge this bear gap down area. But I'm not overall super bullish on AMD, like new all-time highs are coming till you look good over that 164.46 level. So yeah, it's just, I tried to time the bottom on this daily look here that we got last Wednesday, right, where that volume started to come in, and it just rolled right over. So just kind of sitting back and watching right now. I still believe in the company and everything like that long term. However, it clearly needs to try to put a bottom in, and soon. Yeah, right now, even on a weekly basis, it's just not looking good. You see all these weeks right here. Every time the volume increases on a weekly, right? All the highest volume in here have all been red weeks on a weekly. So don't love the look of it. Its time will come. Like I said, I still feel good overall. Let's go at this while I got it pulled up. Yeah, so I mean, maybe 112. That's going to be the 786 of its last low over here. But I mean, it could come back and test, even all the way down to 100. I don't think that's out of the question, especially if the market is weak. I said, remember, market was strong. And while AMD did have a green day, it looks kind of ugly down here. I don't know. We'll see. It's an inverted hammer, though. And volume came in, so. But it's got to look good over 122. Start recovering some of these EMAs, because you can see it's just riding these EMAs down. Nvidia, this is one that I said everybody's going to draw head and shoulders on it, right? It's the number one chart that you're going to see. Got this head and shoulder look, and the last time that happened, I posted this. Head and shoulder look. You had your neckline. You sweep the neckline. You came up here, descending triangle, and then you busted on out of there. So I am looking for a similar move. Nvidia was super strong. Call flow was insanely strong, like over $150 million in call flow on Nvidia just on Friday alone. So it's a volume supported move, flow to back it up. I think you get over 140, you're making new all-time highs. And easily kind of a macro look on this deal over the next 12 to 18 months. I think definitely 165 is going to be coming probably in about 6 months, but they have 193. So let's just say 2 to 250 over the next 12 to 18 months. I think Nvidia looks good up here. I will say, if the market is really ugly, if Nvidia starts looking ugly below 130, that's when there's some time to be concerned, and you're going to have to look for, coming back down to 115 to even 100. That's my personal opinion. But 130, even on ugly pal days, all that kind of stuff, all the reasons in the world to break 130, it did. All it did was find buyers. So keep that in mind. Had all the reasons in the world to make you super bearish, and it didn't happen. Palantir giving me very similar vibes to when it broke out of this falling resistance, had that daily close above, falling resistance, clean that up just a little bit, falling resistance, big nice high volume daily close above. I think Palantir is easily starting to make its way towards 90 to 100. I'd feel a lot better about it if Jim Cramer didn't come out and say the exact same thing, but I would be a lot more concerned. I'm sure there's going to be some people going, it's going to double top, and I would agree with that if essentially this was reversed, right? Not even the fact that it would be a red green candle, but double tops happen when you have high volume on that first burst, and then you come back up and you have a move like this. If this volume was way down here super low, I would be concerned that it was going to double top at that point in time. That's not what you see here. A double top happens when you have your candle and you have good volume, and then you come back up and retest, and then you have a lot less volume. That's a clear sign of a double top. You have the exact opposite. You basically have twice as much volume. So I don't think that this is going to double top. Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know the deal. It could happen. And any type of retest back towards these previous highs, it doesn't mean it won't drop. It just means I think any type of retest and go, just like here, right? You had the breakout, and then you had the gap up. You sold back off. You retested. You filled the gap. You retested the previous highs. So let's say Palantir, gaps up towards like 83. I think any type of retest back towards that top is a very viable dip. Doesn't mean it's always going to work out. But if you take those kinds of setups of retesting those previous highs, it's going to work out more than it's not going to work out. And that's all we're trying to do out here, right? Hood is a look that I love. Came back, retested this huge 35 level, which from IPO was its massive support level. So as long as that 35 keeps holding on Hood, I like the look of it. Strong volume increase, almost had like a bullish engulfing candle, definitely a piercing line, but buyers, and I think Hood, between what they're doing crypto, between what they're doing user interface wise, I think Hood's going to continue to do well. I think it's something that 12 to 18 months, I think you're looking at new all-time highs, which is almost 100% from here. On AMC, we'll talk about the meme stocks real quick. So you had the nice breakaway gap, push out, and then this is where dilution happened, right? And people are like, oh, dilution's great. Well, they're stupid. This is what happens when dilution comes into play. And you can argue, well, it raised money for them. And here's my argument to that. I'm kind of like, well, what is it? Adam Aaron comes out all the time and is like, we had record attendance and we had record sales and all this other kind of stuff. Well, if you're actually making record attendance and record sales, which I believe the movie theaters are crowded, then why are you diluting the stock? Shouldn't you be turning a profit at that point in time? So what is it? Are you making record profits? Because if you're doing that, there's no reason to dilute. No. I'm not gonna. Whatever. But I will say, this is starting to look like AMD. Remember where it took out those previous lows? So this run over here on AMD, you basically had the false breakout, you took out the previous lows, and then you started to run. Now I will say once again, earnings helped that. AMC doesn't have earnings for a long time. Till it looks like, as of right now, TradingView telling me end of February. So I don't expect just some type of V-shaped recovery. Your gamma squeezed to 75, bro. Sorry, you got to be following me on Twitter to see that. But on a macro level, enough time, I think, working its way up to 7. And what I love about this, if you take out the crazy squeeze that happened in summer, if you look at this as like, this is the move right here, that one extension takes you back up to 10, and then that's the big level. Macro-wise, AMC is not going to look good on a macro chart level till it's really back above that 10. So if you go out like on a monthly basis, right? Ooh, that monthly candle that's ugly. Yeah, that's ugly on a monthly basis. But that's what you want to see. Like, you got to get some monthly closes back above 10. Right, to really start looking good. You start getting some monthly closes back above 10, that's where you can really start looking at, then okay, maybe you can push to 38. But I mean, it's a long journey. I've still got my shares, but you're in for the long haul, especially when a CEO wants to dilute every single time the stock starts to look even remotely decent. Having said that, I think GME looks really good. It's putting in a series of higher lows. It's constantly testing. So this high from July that it made, if I zoom in here, you can see that every time we start to get daily closes above, it gets sucked back down. You get a daily push above, sucked back down. Daily push above, boom, boom. The good news is you're making a bunch of higher lows along the way. The more times this level, that $30 level gets tested, it's just every time you get up there, you find sellers. Once you get up there and you don't find sellers and you keep finding buyers, what's going to happen? It's going to bust through that. And then the next big level is going to be 40. But I do think GME is set up very nice for a move soon over the next 1 to 2 weeks up to about that 35 to 40 level. So 33 is going to be the 618. I'd be willing to bet you can knock your head on that this week. I really think that. And then you're going to be working up towards 35. And like I said, that one extension up here around 40. 40 is just going to be a big key psychological level. So if you are in any type of short-term calls, once you approach those key psychological numbers, it's better to take profits and wait to re-enter than it is to go, this is it. Because this ain't been it more times than it has been it, if you know what I'm saying. But like I said, I'm an idiot. You do what's best for you. I love the charts of Amazon and Google. And I really think Google's just lagging behind Amazon a little bit. So let me point this out. So you've got right here, Amazon kind of created this inverse head and shoulders. Then it flagged out. You pushed up through previous all-time highs. And what do I always say? The most bullish thing that you can do is slice right through it, come back and retest before you get your next move up and out. All right? So Google, you come over here. What do you got? And this is where I'm always when people talk about like fractals and algorithms and all that other kind of stuff, this is, for me, people, they just they take a bars pattern and slap it over the top and go, look, it's going to do the same thing. And that's not what it's going to do. But it is a very similar setup. We have our inverse head and shoulders. We have a breakout. We flagged out. We pushed through previous all-time highs. We came back and retested those, dipped back below just a little bit. Now we're starting to get the move. So that's kind of what I'm looking for on Tesla. Right? Push through. Probably going to have to come back. Probably going to get below previous all-time highs a little bit. And then it'll catch its next move. So on Google, whoops, my bad. Right? Side by side with Amazon. Right? Now Google's doing the same thing. So a very apples to apples style move. I think Google can easily push 210 to 225. That move on Amazon took about 3-4 weeks to do. So let's say a month from now, I think 210 to 225 is very doable on Google. It's got a great look, right? All these high volume moves, push back in, volume get. This is what you want to see. Stop me if you've heard this before. As you get this move back down, the volume is constantly declining, and then the push back up, that volume comes in nice and clean. After you come back here and retest this previous support resistance level. It's beautiful. I love the look of Google. Apple, another one that I really like. So this is more on a weekly basis because Apple moves slow. Like, look at it, right? So you got this move here. You chop around, essentially hasn't gone anywhere for 6 months, and now you're starting to break out. So I think Apple could have a nice, sustained walk-up move. I said this on a weekly chart. And I said my year-end target was 250. We're at 254 now. But I think over the next 12 to 18 months, I think 3 to 350 is very doable on Apple. Right? Just like this. Took forever. Then once it broke out, it moved very quickly. Then it chopped around for forever. But once it breaks out, it typically moves very quickly. So I love the look of Apple on a weekly basis, and then on a daily basis also looks fantastic. You get your breakout, consolidate, move up, push back down, move up. Like I said, Apple's just, it's one of the strongest looking names out there in my opinion. Roblox, another name. I love the look of it. You have your breakaway gap on earnings. You get your peg play, post earnings gap. Just trades around up here, builds a base, starts to move. Now it's in this walk up ascending triangle look. On Friday, swept down below previously, but then closed back up. Remember, a lot of things sold off there towards the end of the day, but not Roblox. It pretty much closed at its highs. I think the next time you really start looking good above 60, I think you're on your way to 70 plus for sure. But this is just a great looking chart. And then if we back out here on a weekly basis, a more macro look, right? This is clear accumulation. Let me go to Hood's chart on a weekly basis. Right? So this was Hood. Accumulation. Once you broke out and you're in that markup phase and you're going up, like I said, I think Hood's going to continue to make higher highs. So you go look at Roblox. Breakout. Come back down. Test the support. I said, don't be surprised if Tesla does one of these moves right here. Couple, 3-4 weeks of choppiness before it gets its next move. And then it just keeps stair-stepping its way up. These are the type of charts that you want to buy. I mean, Roblox, I think, is going to push towards all-time highs. Very similar to Hood. It's just earlier on. Same thing with Square. Weekly inverse head and shoulders. Breakout. Retest. Starting to move. And I have a position here. Oklo. Huge move. Building it out. And this is what I really love on Oklo. Let me go to the daily. So as it created what's called the creek, just no volume. Weekly. 3 weeks. So huge volume move up here. consolidation, and then as it creates the creek, just no volume. Now you get a high volume week. Oklo, I think, is one. I said next 12 to 18 months. And when it moves, it can move quickly. Consolidation, it always takes longer than the actual moves. So if it is starting to break out, I mean, it doesn't even, but I mean, next 12 to 18 months, 50 to $100, I think is very doable. But I mean, it can easily put in a week right here. We're like literally 100% weak. So I mean, yeah, I think it's set up very nicely. Probably going to grab some shares. No position for me right now. I bought at 12 and originally sold at 18. But it might be one that I have to grab some shares in because I love this look. And then you're up in, like I said, price exploration territory. But it looks real good. So, hope this video was helpful to you. Sorry, my computer messed up a couple times, so this is like my third or fourth time to make this video. So honestly, I don't remember if I covered everything that I really wanted to. But there's a lot of good charts out there right now. There's always going to be red days. There's always going to be pullbacks. But overall, I still have a very good opinion about the markets going forward into 2025. And you guys know the deal. I'll let you know if that changes. Please like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Colin_Gladman. I'll never directly DM you for anything. Don't fall for scams or anything like that. And have a wonderful and a Merry Christmas. Much love. We'll see you guys in the next video.